Good the fuck morning to you. Yeah, I know it's like 11:30. I finally found out why this week sucks. It's fucking spring training. Not spring training. Spring training means it should be good. It's spring break for ASU. No wonder it's so dead. Ugh. So, my buddy Ross wants me to rant about trucks that were once cars that are now trucks. In Australia, they call them utes. The automotive American market used to have this wild, wacky thing called experiments. They don't do them anymore. They just look at what sells across the entire line and try to make something that sells. One of these experiments was the Chevrolet El Camino / Ford Ranchero. Basically a car with a pickup bed. Which, don't get me wrong, El Camino ran for a long time. Ranchero didn't have much success. I think it was around for like 7-8 years and then just died off. The El Camino, on the other hand, was actually around for a couple of decades, but it soon faded into the pages of history and obscurity. Well, now there's a company that's taken Dodge Chargers and turning them into trucks. Yeah. It's a mixed bag. The Charger was originally designed to be a four-door sedan. At least the new Charger was originally designed to be a four-door sedan. Now somebody's turned them into a truck. And you'll see, not just the Dodge Charger, there are kits to turn Volkswagen Jettas into pickups. And it comes across as by a real niche market, but where there's a market, there should be a sale. In Australia, which I love to call closet Americans because they're just crazy-ass Americans. They just happen to be south of the equator and speak with British accents. They have something called a ute. A ute is exactly what it sounds like. It is a car with a truck bed on the back. Except they take it up and turn the insanity up to 11 with one of these things. They took, I believe it was the Holden Murano? Or Murano? I think I'm saying that right. Which was basically our Pontiac GTO. Strapped a supercharger on it and put a truck bed on the back of it. Still rear-wheel drive. So now you have a car with an incredibly powerful engine and no weight on the drive tires, the back tires. So it just turns it into a smoke machine and a slideshow. They're huge there. Something tells me that utes would be popular here in America. But no car company is willing to risk it here in America. Like, again, you know, car companies nowadays, at least in the American market, they get a gigantic printout of what sold the best. And then they make their next car to look exactly like what sold the best, whether it was on their badge or not. Dodge is really the only car company that doesn't do that. And it's a little depressing to actually think about because car design, you know, they will put out these absolutely gorgeous and otherworldly concept cars and never make them. I was happy to see that the Challenger concept actually got put into production. But nobody's willing to experiment and put a vehicle into production anymore. That's how the El Camino and the Ranchero came to be. Some other cars that were experiments, the Ford Pinto. Yes, I know they had a tendency to burst into flames, but it was still an experiment. You know, try something new, what the hell? that statement, let's try something new, what the hell, will never be uttered in an American design team meeting. I believe last year at the New York Auto Show, Buick had this massive concept car. Refined, clean, you know, and all from Buick that could rival a Rolls-Royce. Rolls-Royce is like the end-all be-all when it comes to luxury. They won't put it in production. Why? It seems now that most car companies will build concepts just to go, hey, look, this is what we're capable of doing, but we're not really going to do it because you're still buying our brown slush boxes. You're buying our rip-off Toyota Camrys and Honda Civics. And I guess more than anything, the American consumer is to blame because the general consumer doesn't care about cars anymore. The only thing they care about is fuel economy. That's it. But there were a lot of funky cars that were experiments, and I guess you could say that the last experimental car that I saw produced by a car company, actually mass-produced, was the Chevrolet SSR. Looked like a car, but it was a truck. And a convertible one. Alright, you have my attention. It was insanely expensive. And thus it's insanely rare. But with most experiments, it wasn't really kept around long enough. You had another experimental car called the Pontiac Fiero. Now, the Pontiac Fiero was a tough little bastard, and it was fast. Fucker corner like lightning. But it competed with the Corvette, and Chevy couldn't have that. And apparently, I'm going to have a guest on my show tonight. My Russian brother, Ilyas. Alright, there we go. There's the Russian friend.
It's going good.
We're talking about experimental cars tonight.
Experimental?
Experimental cars and why the American market doesn't do experimental cars. It all started with a picture that Ross posted about a Dodge Charger that has been turned into a pickup truck. And there's a company that actually makes these kits. It turns a Dodge Charger sedan into a single cab pickup. And I'll post the picture later on my Facebook for those that follow and watch so they can see the picture. It is kind of trippy to look at.
It sounds cool.
It does.
Yeah.
But I was talking about how, at least in the American market, there's no willing to take risks and say, fuck it, let's see what happens. You see what,
yeah, but they also think that they're doing... because those blocks are really heavy, and that's why they're a little bit too heavy in the front and too light in the back.
Well, then why is it sell so well in Australia? Because in Australia they can use it.
Because they probably found a way to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
So they won't be too heavy in the front and too... Oh,
no, they're still too heavy at the front. They're just smoke machines. They go everywhere spinning tires.
Yeah. So
but now, he can tell you, he's actually from Russia. Tell everybody where in Russia you're from.
By the Black Sea, south of Russia. Name is Krasnodar, Russia.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've actually driven around Russia, and you know a lot about their car culture in Russia. Now,
whatever my young age was.
Young age.
Yeah.
Now, everybody thinks that, at least the general public here in America thinks that all cars look the exact same across the globe. Now, Russia is not a poor country by any means. But what is one of the most popular Russian vehicles? One that I always joke about buying you. And tell them what that is.
Lada.
Lada what?
Niva? Or...
Riva.
Riva. Yes, Riva.
Now,
piece of shit.
A little history on the Lada Riva. It was originally designed in the 50s. It started production in the 60s. The design has not changed.
For so many years.
It still hasn't changed. It's actually in production in Egypt now, Same exact design, same exact engines, same technology. If I remember correctly, it actually ran with a capacitor battery backup, the round capacitors.
Probably, I can't remember.
And it also had an actual turn start if your battery failed. Now, for the
old style, but the newer they're without turn start.
Now, for those playing the home game, when we want to start our cars, we put the key in the ignition, we turn the key, and the car starts. We, as Americans, last saw a car with a turn start in the 1920s. And that was literally the rod sticking out of the front of the car, and you had to turn the engine over manually to get it to fire. Resulted in a lot of broken wrists. But there are a lot of Russian car manufacturers that will come out with a crazy design and say, fuck it, let's see if it sells. Look at the TVR. TVR Sajaris. Anybody that wants to look up a TVR Sajaris, it looks like a supercar. It really does. The fucking car's nuts. It's insane. It has no anti-lock brakes at all. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. How many Russian vehicles come with anti-lock brakes?
Good question.
Coming from somebody that lived there
and drove those cars
and drove most of these vehicles, I mean, we take ABS as, that should come standard on all vehicles, and our safety regulations require most vehicles nowadays to come with ABS or anti-lock brakes. Their cars don't. But they still, those designers still have the freedom to go, fuck it, see if it sells. That's something I think America has lost. So as an international driver, what do you think is something that Americans take for granted when it comes to their cars? Other than, obviously, all the luxuries like air conditioning and stuff like that. What is something that is basic on your... And you drive, what, a 2015? 2016 Toyota Corolla S. So what is basic on this car that you think Americans take for granted?
Basic?
Basic.
Transmission.
Automatic?
Automatic.
You see, the manual in America is dying off. It used to be, if you wanted an automatic transmission, you had to go on the back and ask for it because all the cars in the front line were manuals. Now it's becoming something of a pricey optional extra. So options are rare?
Rare, but probably 40% of the cars. Maybe 30%. They're automatic right now.
30% of the cars in Russia. Now, Russia is a country that dwarfs ours in sheer size. 60 or 70% of their cars are manuals. Try and figure that out.
That's beautiful.
Huh?
And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, have manual transmission is beautiful.
Hold on, I think my camera here is messing up.